All right, Ken, I really appreciate you joining us today and being a part of our Executive Summit interview series. You've been around our channel a few years now, 24 years with Schaffner, 13 as the president. I would love to get your perspective on how you've seen Schaffner evolve over your tenure, and maybe a little bit about what you see in the future.
Thanks for the question. I just want to start by saying thank you for inviting me to this series and to have me share some of my thoughts and experience from the actual 40 years in the electronics industry. In the 24 years that I've been at Schaffner, obviously a lot has changed. And we have gone through so many different cycles, whether they be good cycles or bad cycles. Things that happened in 2008 were kind of horrible. We've gone through a few of those things. But ultimately, we started as Schaffner 1983 in the United States. We basically have been in the United States for 40 years as a subsidiary of a Swiss company, which most people know Schaffner is a Swiss organization. And we have really tried very hard to focus just on the U.S. market. When I joined, I started as an inside sales manager, and then, slowly progressed through the channel, our channel of positions, and then made it over to, like a national sales manager and a regional manager, and, had several different titles as I got to be president after the former president, Gillis Mellon, retired back in 2012. So it's been really an exciting time, for me, because I was able to go through a lot of these different issues that we had to face through the 2000s, through the 2010s, and now into the 2020s. But I can honestly say the industry has changed so much in the 24 years that I've just been at Schaffner that it's been phenomenal how many things we do differently today than what we did when I joined on February 14th in 2000. So it was kind of a great ride so far.
That's great. With a career path like yours up through the organization, and obviously your time with Schaffner, what do you think sets Schaffner apart from its competitors?
The one thing I feel that the U.S. part of our business sets us apart is that we really focused on relationships. We know that the technology drives us in a lot of different directions, especially in the last 10 years, how we get more into video calls and conferencing calls. But I still believe, as an older person in the industry, that we need to be in touch with the customers, with the partners, the distributor channel, and specifically our reps. That was my philosophy from the beginning. The second thing was I wanted to really build a strong team. So when I had some of the responsibility as national sales manager, I started to change the format at Schaffner. Schaffner was just I would say at the beginning, kind of lost on how they were approaching reps, distributors, and customers. And I decided that we needed to focus more on having salespeople that had an electrical engineering background. So I hired only electrical engineers to take those roles as regional managers, to work with the reps, to work with the distributor partners, to build a more comfortable situation that allowed us to communicate better. And I think that was the turning point, way back, this was back in probably 2008, 2009, after the big downturn that we had. We kind of went to that philosophy, and that started to really work. I also think because I did spend some time as a regional manager and I am not an engineer, I found it very hard when I sat in front of engineers and tried to speak intelligently, because they would look at me knowing that I probably didn't know the real answer. So I would kind of not make an excuse, but say, I can definitely look it up and get it for you. And that helped me be successful with that role. So I saw the need to make that change, and that change helped us. The third thing that kind of happened is that we had probably almost 30 distributors back then, but so many of them, at least half of them, were doing just little amounts of money with specific customers. And I said, this is kind of silly. We need to be more important to the big distributors so that we could get the focus. And that was a big changing thing. I started to change the distributor lineup back when I took over as president. Gillis had started a little bit before me, and we continued to make all those changes through 2010 and 2020, so that we were really a focused organization with mostly all of our business going through distribution. And 85% of the U.S. Schaffner business does use the distributor channel. So that change helped us to really become more focused, reach the right audience, the right engineers, and the right customers.
Yeah, that's great. You hinted in there about the highs and lows of our market over those longer periods. Could you talk a little bit about, we're all dealing in a post-COVID world now. We've made it through that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about what did you learn? What did your team learn? And what are you guys doing differently as we look forward?
I think the biggest learning experience we had with COVID is you have to be resilient. You have to be willing to change quickly. I mean, everybody had to adopt some sort of format of still communicating and do business. We had never been faced with anything so horrible as that, where we couldn't travel, we couldn't see people, and we had to stay home. And so we immediately tried to adopt different types of video programs to try to stay in touch with our partners, to not lose that connectivity that we had already built for so many years. And I think that was a turning point for us to get more involved in technology. Yes, it took us a little bit away from the customers and the distributors and the reps, but I feel that still we had an ability to reach them when we used either Zoom or now we morphed into Teams and having these new platforms to get our message across. We also found that it was a lot easier to get in touch with engineers on video, and sometimes seeing an engineer in a lobby is pretty difficult for us as a filter manufacturer. And for us, meeting with the engineer is the only key to success. That's how we get our products spec'd in. That's how we get the business. So having that ability to do that on video during the COVID period really changed the way Schaffner did business. And I think it helped us because it made it stronger. And as COVID started to relax and we started to get a little bit more relaxed about traveling, we really continued to try to balance that video versus live call so that we had some live calls without losing that touch, and then also do video calls to get to the right engineers with the right information.
Sure. And I have to think, as you had to step back and everybody had to stay at home and use the video, and like you mentioned, then you start to come out, I have to think that the rep model really helped you in those situations. Now you've got the reach, you've got the expertise, and they can really help you with those relationships. Really,
Absolutely. And that was the thing. Reps were also going through the same. I mean, we were all going through the same. Let's not be silly. But the reps, that was challenging because remember, reps are very small organizations. But to me, the rep is one of the most important parts of Schaffner's success, because we were able to reach the territories and be important to those customers within the territories. I mean, Schaffner being a small company by far in the US, we didn't have the resources to have 15 regional managers handling the business across the country. So the rep model really spoke to me that this was the way to do it the right way. And I think the reps had to go through that same learning period during 2020 when we all had to scramble and decide. They may have had a little slower getting adopted with that because now, no problem, all of my reps adopt this type of program, whether it be a video or whatever, to get to more of their customers within the territory. And I think that made a difference that they also embraced it as we were embracing it at the same time.
Yeah, I think, we all had to adapt to change for sure throughout that process, and I think we're all continuing to adapt. We've kind of touched on change throughout our conversation. I know not that long ago it was announced that Schaffner is going to be joining the TE family of companies. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like and what do you see, as the go-forward plan together?
Well, it's an exciting time for us. I mean, I'll be honest, because I'm a pretty open person. It was a shock to hear the news, back last year when they said that TE Connectivity was going to purchase us, because for me, Corecom has been my main competition. My team, my distributors, my reps have all been focused on the fact that, yes, that was in the US, the big player in the market, in the EMI filter market. And I think that when TE got involved, it was first a little bit, where's it going to go? How's this going to be handled? Because they had already had Corecom. And will it be handled in a different way? And I can honestly say, now that we've had 5 months of really getting involved with a whole transition program and getting, starting to get some more information from TE Connectivity on where this is going to go, we are more and more comfortable every day. And the managers at TE make it more comfortable for us because they've given us that green light to keep the way we've gone to business, the way we've handled the market, the way we've grown the business over the last 10 years specifically. They want to see that continue. And so I believe they're supporting the rep model. They are telling our reps that they're going to support it and that they're going to leave that as the way we get to the channel the best way, because they see the value it adds. It's not always the same when you have bigger type products like connectors or relays or resistors, but when you're dealing with EMI filters, you need that special touch. You need that kind of viewpoint that you can only get from someone who knows your business.
Sure.
And I think I get that from the reps all the time.
Yeah. And it seems like, especially in your world, that expertise that the rep provides to your business and in their own workings, that's really a value. And I have to think that as you go forward, that's seen as a value of Schaffner.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a main value, is that they provide such a valued service to us because we work with our reps as though they were our family, as though they were part of our team. They're just an extension of our regional managers within the territory. And the fact that they are the experts in that territory on the customer base helps us to provide the right technical data, the right know-how. A lot of my reps are engineers as well. So they do have some ability to sit in front of a customer and help move a project forward, in many ways.
And really be a part of that development cycle, it sounds like.
Exactly. They are the beginning part of our development cycle. A lot of times the rep will get the calls, the rep will find the opportunity and reach out to our regional managers to get them involved, get the right information to the right people, and then follow the best course of action of what that customer wants to do to get the product.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about the expertise needed and required in your fields. Schaffner, as a global leader in EMC and EMI filters, can you tell me a little bit about, from your perspective, what are the most significant trends affecting your categories, and how do you see the technology evolving as we go forward?
Yeah, as a salesperson, basically, and not an engineer, I can honestly say that the changing markets of today is what's kind of driving Schaffner into different areas of filter manufacturing and filter development. What types of filters are we going to need for the robotics industry, for the EV charger industry, for the lighting industry, things that we never were really strong at in the past. Because basically our big market has always been really medical. Medical has always had a requirement for EMI protection and filters in products. But these other markets were new to us. Robotics is another one that has really blossomed in the last couple of years for Schaffner. And so our engineers in Luderbach, Switzerland, because that's where we'll develop all this, we will get input from our customers. We even get some of those engineers to come over here, set up appointments with the customer, get the G2 on what they are seeing as problems, and provide the right solution. I mean, that's what we are. We're a solution provider, and we have to be in touch with them to find out what the next trend is, what they're seeing within their industry or their customer need. And I'll be honest with you, over my lifetime at Schaffner, a lot of standard product has been developed based on customer input with the problem that they had with EMI.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So Ken, as we talk, we really have talked about and discussed the importance of the manufacturer's rep. I'm really excited to say earlier this year, Don Akery sees the value in it, and we started our own manufacturer rep council. We really see the value of the rep and connecting Waldom to the distributors and the manufacturers through that group of people. And we really look forward to hearing their expertise to help us guide how we approach the market, how we approach our partners, and work better with distribution as we go forward. So I really look forward to doing more with the Rep Council as we go forward later this year. And we've already done an introduction.
Good.
We've got about 20 reps that have joined us in that, and we meet again later to really hear their voice in what we're doing and how we can modify our business going forward. So love this, have you, be a guide in that as well.
Sure, I'd love to help. Well, I love the reps. I love being involved with ERA. I love that I'm part of the manufacturer representation on the ERA Executive Council. And I think what you guys are doing is phenomenal, because that's what we need, more people to embrace the rep organizations that are in this country, because a lot of manufacturers turned away, thought that they can do it better. Maybe they did have the resources to do it better, but I still think there's a lot of companies out there that benefit and have a lot more value by using the rep organizations.
Right. They really bring that expertise and the local touch, really becoming a part of that
Exactly.
cycle.
I can't agree more.
Well, Ken, I know we all have busy schedules, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us and be a part of this. And I thank you for your partnership, and I look forward to us working more together.
Well, I'm looking forward to a partnership with Waldom, and I hope that we have many years of good and successful business together. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.
All right.